Coach Moglia will be announcing Mickey Matthews as our defensive coordinator. Coach Moglia will open with a statement, and then Coach Matthews will have a statement of his own, and then we'll open up to questions. So, turn it over to Coach.
First of all, Happy New Year, everybody. And secondly, I thought I would just spend a few minutes talking about how I view positioning our staff and how I go through that overall process. I think, first of all, I don't think there's anything that I do that's more important than making sure that we have the right guys on the staff representing Coastal Carolina. Whether we're implementing the concept of BAM, or whether we're implementing our mission, whether we're talking about recruiting, whether we're talking about how we handle the guys that we have as part of our responsibility at our particular position or our side of the ball, how we coach them, how we take the field, what our attitude is. That's all about the coaching staff. So when I make a decision to bring a guy on, you can rest assured that there's a tremendous amount of thought that has gone into that decision. So to back up a little bit, my first year at Nebraska, I realized that. And back then, this was 2009, I started to put a portfolio of coaches together. And that would be broken down by individual position, by coordinators, by recruiting areas, etc. And where they were coaching, what their stats have been, where their background is, etc. And I have done a pretty good job, I think, of updating that over the span of the last several years. Back around 2009, I had the good fortune to actually meet Mickey when he was the head coach of James Madison, and he gave me a lot of good advice as to how to proceed with regards to coming back to football back then. So you have the press release, you all have his resume, you have his list of achievements. I think, frankly, it's an honor for Coastal Carolina to be able to get Mickey Matthews as our defensive coordinator. The wealth of experience that he brings to the table, I think is extraordinary. The impact that he has had on the boys he has coached, helping them become men, I think is also extraordinary. I think we're fortunate for him to be our defensive coordinator and represent Coastal Carolina. So with that, just let me turn it over to Mickey.
It's good to be here. I came in last year and did when I was working for ESPN, I did the playoff game with Richmond, and I enjoyed being down here on December the 5th, and it was 75 degrees. Thought that was really nice, coming from the Northland. But it is, I appreciate Coach Moglia giving me the opportunity to be the defensive coordinator. I fully understand what being the head coach is, and I'm really looking forward to being the defensive coordinator. When I was, a lot of times when you're the head coach, you don't get to do the actual teaching that you are allowed to do when you're a position coach or a coordinator. And as I told Coach during the interview, the most fun I ever had as a football coach in my career was all the places I've been a defensive coordinator. That's when you get to teach football and you get to be around youngsters and you get to know them on a one-on-one basis. And it's just the things that when I was a young guy and decided to do this for a living, that I envisioned that's what we do. So I'm looking forward to being the DC here. There's a lot of work to be done. I've met the staff when I was down here during the fall. I watched Coastal practice for a couple of days, so I'm familiar with the staff. We're going to be good. I assure you this, we're going to be good on defense. If you go through my track record, we've never been anywhere we weren't good on defense. It goes back many years. And you can anticipate we'll be good again. We're going to get kids. A lot of people try to complicate football, and it's really not a complicated sport. You got to get lined up right. You got to tackle really well. You got to play like your hair's on fire, and good things will happen to you on Saturday. It's very difficult to coach major college defense in football anymore because of all the great offenses you're seeing and the no huddles, and it's a different world than it was 10 or 15 years ago. But that all being said, we'll have a plan. We will execute that plan, and I'm looking forward to working with all the guys and get it going.
Coach Matthews, what about this opportunity made you feel like this was the right fit at the right time?
Well, I certainly I really had not, if people ask me what we've been doing, I said, well, I've been practicing retirement. That's what I've been doing. And 1 month I was going to get back into coaching, and one time I wasn't. I mean, when I visited with Coach last year, and as the year went along, I really got the itch and the urge to coach football again, you know, and I just thought it was a great opportunity. With Coastal going up to Division I, it's a great area to live in. It's a vibrant university. I mean, you're here, you can feel the energy when you're here, and when you just walk around campus. So I was excited about the entire situation, you know, about coming down here. And when you certainly, like I said, once again, I've been a head coach, and when you're struggling on one side of the ball or the other, you know, sometimes you need new blood, you need help, you need new ideas, and I certainly understood where he was coming from in our conversations.
You said this defense is going to be good. What leads you to believe that? What are some of the pieces that lead you to believe that the defense will be good next year?
I just believe in myself. You know, to lead young men, lead the staff. You know, as you get around me, confidence is not a problem. You know, we're going to play with a lot of confidence, and we're going to make plays. And certainly, it's a lot more coaching when you have good players. You know, I'm more of a confident coach, but we're going to get good players. And it's a simple thing you do. Is what you do is the players you have to make them better. And by the same token, you have to recruit better players. It's not a difficult formula to do.
Did you see any similarities from where you left 15 years to where you are now?
Yeah, JMU was a mess when we went there. Now there I was having to work on both sides of the ball. You know, when I look back at it, and I think like a lot of things when you get involved, you know, they'd lost a lot of games, and but that being said, we'll just have to see how we do here. But I'm looking forward to it. You know, similarities. I think every situation is different in terms of when you coach. You know, when you get places, you're going to learn what the pluses and the minuses are, and you've got to work your way around, you know, the minuses and the pluses. You've got to capitalize on them. That's what we're going to do. But yeah, you know, anytime for whatever the reason, the situations God's put me into, I've never walked in a situation where they were, you know, like here, they just led the nation in total defense. You know, I wish they had, you know, but that's when we went to JMU was that way. When we went to Marshall, it was that way. When I went to Georgia, they just come off a bowl defeat, and the kids are really down. So for whatever the reason, that's the situations I've always been put into, but certainly I'm confident.
I would want to
Yeah,
add a little point here, that, you know, that Mickey certainly did a phenomenal job at JMU. Certainly the situation here is not quite the mess that JMU may have been, you know, 15 years ago.
Coach, what did you see, Coach Matthews, last year that you maybe liked about what this defense did, and things that if you were there, you would have changed things around and improved on?
You know, I didn't really study it that much. In fact, when Coach asked me to come down during the season, I really looked at your offense as much as I did, you know, both sides. He asked me to look at both sides, and it's kind of like I was scouting Coastal Carolina to see if I were coaching against Coastal, this is what I would do on both sides of the ball. So I didn't really, you know, certainly we didn't talk about a job or anything. You know, I just certainly I had my own private thoughts about the personnel on both sides of the ball. When you're a coach, you do that.
I think, guys, one of the things you want to be aware of is, I think when Mickey did come down, he actually spent more time with Dave Patton on the offensive side of the ball. But the reality is, this is his first day on the job, and has not had an opportunity to look at all of our film yet. And I think perhaps, you know, prior to spring ball, he will certainly had the opportunity to do all that, and it might make sense to kind of get his perspective on that a little later after he's had a chance to evaluate what we have today, both in terms of personnel, where we had breakdowns, where we were strong on defense, where we weren't as strong. Damon?
When you bring on a coach like this with this kind of experience, is it kind of like having a second head coach as a defensive coordinator?
I think anytime you bring, I think you're as good as your staff. So I think anytime you bring on somebody that's got a wealth of experience, everybody has their own strengths. And I think with the experience that Mickey has, certainly I and the entire staff will look to him for, you know, he has already been there, he has done that, he has gone through different things. But again, his role is defensive coordinator. And that's not a competition with mine, it's not a competition with the offensive coordinator, it's not a competition with anything else. His role is defensive coordinator, and that will be his focus. Having said that, he brings a lot of experience to the table that I and all of us will take advantage of.
The program faces a 2-year transition here with the move to the FBS. Do you intend to be here beyond that and see it through and then get to reap the benefits of making that move? Or
Yeah, we're not in a hurry. I mean, I spend town 24 hours, and you're asking if I'm going to leave. But you know, I'm really looking forward to, to me, Coastal's with the youngsters you can recruit at Coastal. I think we should feel like we can compete for championships and be in the bowl picture, the bowl discussion, every December. Now, that being said, that's in the future. It's going to be a tough transition. Anytime you move up, like I said earlier, no two situations are the same. When you make the transition that we're making, but we're going to sign good players, and I'm sure that there's a great base here defensively. There's a good staff, and we're going to be fine. But there's 2 years of transition is for a reason. The NCAA does it for a reason.
when you're inheriting a team, what's the most obvious thing you can immediately impact for the next season ahead?
I'm not for sure that the number one thing I could impact. I just hope I want to be an assistant to coach, get just in really what we just talked about, transition, because you realize because of my background, being around the SEC I think I have a pretty good idea what, Division I players look like and some opinions on who we should recruit. Just trying to help the guys, who to recruit, and certainly you'll have some ideas from time to time. But you think about Coastal's been pretty good. It's not like there's going to be a lot of fixing to do. But we must get better on defense. I don't think there's any question about that.
Coach Matthews, as you've gone through your career and you talked about offensives changing and adapting, how have you adapted defensively to update your schemes and also to connect with your players?
I would say this, that's a good question. The one thing that will always be about good defensive football, and you watch all the bowl games, the teams that are still playing are good against the run. You must, anytime whether, you're Alabama or you're the Atlanta Falcons or the Green Bay Packers, the first thing you have to do to win football games defensively is to stop the run. And then you have to adjust your pass defenses as time goes on, whatever they're doing. But you must stop the run. There's been a lot of defensive coaches trying to get away from that, and usually they're on the streets pretty quick. You have got to stop the run, and then you work your way from there.